Hello and welcome to episode 319 of Sutton Impact Family Style. I'm Jason.
I'm Bill, and as usual, I hope that when I made my picks last week that you did exactly the opposite. As I picked the Celtics and the Lakers, and I think I've been very consistent all year that if I pick them, don't bet them.
Yeah. I picked the Nuggets and the Celtics, and it looks like one of us will be right on one because it's hard to imagine the Nuggets losing 4 games. And we talked about this offline. We'll talk about it a little bit now. Like, the Nuggets look like the better team, right?
Absolutely,
I was
absolutely.
I was worried about Game 3 as a bandwagon Nuggets fan this year. I thought,
Well, I mean, Game 3 is the one where you're circling the wagons, right?
yeah,
And you're going to do anything in your power to win this game.
exactly.
And if you're the Nuggets, in the back of your mind has to be, if you come in and get 1 out of 2 and go home, you'll clinch.
Oh yeah. But Game 3 is where you give the team hope. Their fans
Yeah.
are extra riled up for Game 4. Their players are extra pumped. Like, it's okay. We lost. We haven't lost home. We haven't lost at home all year or all playoffs. I shouldn't say all year. That sounds silly.
Yeah.
And we win this one. We only have to steal one in Denver, and we're good to go. But Denver came out, and Jokic was in foul trouble. Didn't have the great first
Bunch
half.
of really bad calls.
Yeah, I mean that's what you'd expect. That's that home
Yeah.
court advantage, right? Yeah, but
Yeah.
Jamal Murray, Bruce Brown, Aaron Gordon, KCP, that whole team looks like they're just really well coached, really well put together. They seem to mean business every time they're out on the court. Because we'll talk about the Eastern Conference and the Celtics and their sort of lack of consistency, but the Nuggets don't seem to have that. They've got a chip on their shoulder, like all those cliches. They seem to have them, right?
Yeah, they definitely seem to have a chip, playing with a chip and playing intense. And if they can blow you out in 4, that's what they want to do.
Yeah,
Because this is, they're not. They want to win the championship, and getting anywhere is not relevant. They want to win.
and
And then those spurts they go on. I mean, when the Lakers came back, and I thought, okay, the Lakers are going to pull this out now.
yeah.
And then all of a sudden, bang, 12 points in a row.
I mean, outside of the mythical Heat culture that I want to talk about later too, it seems like of all the teams in the playoffs, the Nuggets do offense better than any team does anything else, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Like if you're looking at fighters, and it's always like, well, who does what best? And it's like with the shooters they have around them, and with the way Jokic is able to pass the ball, move, set screens, shoot, and score from anywhere on the floor, like you can't stop. You're not going to stop the Nuggets, not consistently, because they're just so good
no,
at offense. And
no, not at all. Not going to happen.
no, and that GM has done a fantastic job. The trade for KCP at the beginning of the year, the signing of Bruce Brown, Aaron Gordon, who was miscast as a 1 in Orlando, is a perfect fit to be like a rim running 4 with Jokic, who can also occasionally stretch out and hit. You can't leave him open from 3.
No.
And
And remember,
then
there's a lot of rumors in the offseason about trading Jamal Murray.
yeah, well, you kind of worried because you have Michael Porter Jr. and Jamal Murray, who both had severe career hurting injuries, right?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And you're worried we've got this once in a generation player in Jokic, and we've surrounded him with his 2 quote unquote his big 3. I don't think Porter probably counts as a big 3, even though he's paid like big 3. And it's like, can we have both of those guys be, on the all potentially like we're waiting for the shoe to drop on their injury? And Murray looks incredible, like he did in the bubble 2 years ago. Like he's fully recovered from whatever that was.
Yeah. So, I mean, here's a case where the trade you didn't make probably is responsible for where you are.
Yeah. And it is weird because, I know they're the Lakers, which is why they're the story every morning when you turn on the Sports Center. It's AD, it's LeBron, it's the Los Angeles Lakers, one of the most storied franchises in all of sports. But for considering the Nuggets' record the last 4 years, Jokic is 2 MVPs, he's placing second or third in the MVP this year. They are like the most disrespected of the big, which I think helps them.
Yeah. I mean, Denver's a nice place. It's not a glamorous place, not a glitzy place. Who are the stars sitting in the stands to watch the Nuggets play?
Russell Wilson.
There you go. There you go.
Yeah.
It's a short list.
They show Russell Wilson, Sierra, and they show somebody else. I think there's some singer that's from there. I'm not positive, but yeah.
And the other hand, you got Diane Cannon, Jack Nicholson, Kevin. You got everybody.
DiCaprio,
You know what I mean?
yeah. Rappers galore, singers, yeah. You've got all the LA glitz and glamour out there, stunting. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's hard to imagine, like I said, even listening to, because I've listened to all the post-game stuff today with Anthony Davis and Darvin Ham, who I want to give a special shout out to Darvin Ham, because I think he's done a hell of a job with that team. And
I do too. Not an easy job.
No, and I think he's doing everything he can. Like, remember after game one when, who was it? Rui Hachimura guarded Jokic pretty nicely at the end of the fourth quarter, for whatever that was worth. Then Mike Malone, that was a good coaching play, but I think you could tell even when they in the post conference when they were asking Darvin Ham about it, he was sort of like, that was one little gimmick we thought we could throw out there at some point, and they probably didn't want to do it in game one loss.
Yeah.
Like, I think he's doing all he can. And then Mike Malone, again, fantastic. And then my most hyperbolic take, Austin Reeves, best Laker.
He's playing with an intensity that I don't see matched by anybody else on that team.
No. Clearly, obviously, LeBron is, all-time great player. Top 5 on any list. Otherwise, you're probably disqualified from having a list, I would assume.
Yes. Austin Reeves played phenomenal.
Yeah.
And Rudy Hachimura has played well enough that I'm wondering what the hell they did with him in Washington. How badly did they misuse him, or what was the story?
I think part of it is he seems like one of those guys that plays, he's not a leader, he's a follower. And I think on a Bradley Beal-led team, he plays sort of that Bradley Beal-like style of game where, it's just not, they're not a focused team, they're not a winning team. And I don't think you get to the Lakers and LeBron and Los Angeles and that energy and play, lazily. I think you got to bring it. He's brought it. But
and again, is this just a better fit? And is his style of play better suited to be this guy rather than that guy?
I think so.
Yeah,
and then
no doubt.
The Lakers do need to be careful because just like with Alex Caruso, Reeves is a free agent. And I've already heard chatter about, well, we need to bring in Kyrie. Like, I don't think you can let Reeves walk. You found something in him, and I think you need to keep him.
Yeah, and Kyrie is not going to get you over the top.
No, there's two guys, and we can talk about the other one after we talk about the Eastern Conference and James Harden. But yeah, let's go Eastern Conference now and talk about the greatest coach ever versus that other guy.
Yeah, it's definitely there's such a variance in the coaching talent, and the Celtics coach looks like a rookie coach, and he looks like a rookie coach during the game, before the game, and after the game. And Spoelstra is really making adjustments, taking care of what he can do consistently.
Oh yeah.
We talk about heat culture, and you've got an opinion on that. It's just an interesting. I just think he's head and shoulders above. I think Darvin Ham's done a phenomenal job, but I think the Denver coach is really, really good.
Yeah.
But Spoelstra has really this year sold me on how fantastic of a coach he is.
Yeah, because when you watch this, what's the Celtics coach name? I can't remember his name now. That probably says a lot.
Yeah. Starts with an M.
It starts with an M, yeah. But, he doesn't feel like, I don't have confidence in his, even I think about young Tomlin on the Steelers, to have our Steeler moment for a second. And, even when he would make young coach mistakes, he had this confidence and this air about him. And the Celtics coach just seems like he's just very soft-spoken. He just doesn't feel like an authoritative, I'm your leader, get behind me kind of guy. Yeah. But as Tatum has pointed out, he's not throwing the ball away and he's not missing shots.
No, I agree with that.
Yeah. And this
and why but consistently now in the fourth quarter of the last series and the series before that, they have never been able to put anybody away.
No.
And that says to that's a big, big miss.
And I have to say something that'll probably be considered stupid by most NBA experts, but I'm going to say it anyway. I don't know why Jaylen Brown isn't a good ball handler. I remember as a kid, like, sitting in the basement, watch TV, sit on the couch, dribble a basketball. You just walk around with a basketball, you dribble a basketball. And I'm not saying I have insane handles, I don't. But it feels like when you think about skills you can get really good at, your ball handling should be one you could improve, especially if you're a world class athlete. His ball handling just is still bad. You know?
Yeah, and I mean it's and you can do that on it. That's conviction. I mean, you can do that. That's a self skill. You don't need somebody else there with you. You can improve your ball handling just by improving your ball handling.
And again, I'm not asking him to be, Kyrie with a basketball where it looks like he's got it, on a string connected to his fingers. My one pro Kyrie comment for the day, because he's an insane ball handler. But it feels like if you're a wing that's handling the ball, like at this point in his career, there should be some sort of level of competency that I think I can't understand why he doesn't have it, I guess.
No, and if you think about it, that's a team without a great ball handler.
Yeah.
I mean, Marcus Smart is a good passer.
He is.
He's not a great ball handler.
No, but he's that level of, but like I said, when you have nobody that's elite and then him that's so bad at it, it's like it just doesn't make sense.
It stands out.
It does.
And it's an Achilles heel.
Yeah.
Especially in the fourth quarter.
And I have to say, I don't know why I'm considered still shocked, but I'm, despite all we just said about Boston, I'm shocked they're up. They're down 0-2 going to Miami for game 3 today.
You're shocked that they play 2 games at home and are 0-2 going to Miami, as am I.
I'm not surprised that Jimmy, the Heat, Spoelstra, Heat culture, I'm not surprised that they went up there and stole a game. Because that's what they've been doing every single series. But I am surprised they got both. And they got the last one.
I'm surprised to get the second one because you would have thought losing the first one had been a massive wake-up call.
Yeah.
Because you don't want to go on the road down 2 games.
Especially because the Celtics, you had that 50-point Tatum game. And you've had a couple Tatum games where it seems like he just wills that team to win. And that team just sort of, again, you got all your role players at home. Your Derek Whites, your Brogdons, your Williamses. Like, it just felt like there was no way they were losing game 2. And they did.
No, because remember when they were doing the analysis of Talking Heads.
Yeah.
And, and I also want to point out that the TNT coverage is so far superior to the ESPN coverage.
Oh, it's not even close.
It's not even close. But they were talking, and as they went down the line, they said, yeah, you got these 2 guys, but the Celtics have 5 guys. And their 5 are better than the next 5, and then the 8 are better than the next 8, so that's why the Celtics are going to win.
Yeah.
Well, I guess those 8 guys in Miami didn't read the paper. Didn't watch that broadcast.
They did not.
Well, make your point that we talked about offline about Heat culture.
Okay. I was thinking, like, when the Talking Heads talk Heat culture, it almost sounds like when you ask somebody what they're looking for in a date. And everyone's like, well, I want somebody smart and funny and honest and yada, yada, yada. And with Heat culture, it's, mentally tough, physically tough, all those sorts of things. But I think one thing that, and obviously smart players and all that sort of stuff, and they, in Heat culture, supposedly they have, fitness and diet things you have to buy into as a player. But I think the one thing, and I talked about how I do this, and I sometimes am guilty of this too, like, you can know your role, right? I bring you into my office, I'm the coach, and I'm like, Mr. Sutton, this is your role on our team. But do you accept your role? And I think we look around the NBA and there's a lot of guys, because again, these are professional basketball players. I'm sure they all know their role. They've been told their role, they've been coached their role. But do they actually accept their role? And it feels like everybody in the Miami Heat accepts their role.
Yeah.
Like we talked about D'Angelo Russell, Russell Westbrook, who we love on this show. But guys that, I'm sure they're told, I'm sure they sit in meetings before they're brought in, and they can probably parrot back exactly what their role is. But do they accept it happily? And they just, because Max, you look at these guys that are coming off the bench, these undrafted guys, and they didn't complain all year. And when they get in, they don't take shots they're not supposed to take. They play within themselves, and it's lovely to see.
It really is. I mean, it's crazy.
And then you go with Bam Adebayo, who is sort of a poor man's Jokic in a great complimentary way. Like, he's a really good passer. And then you got Jimmy, who, despite Jokic, Murray, all these guys, I think has been the story of the playoffs, right?
Yeah, because I mean, he'll be a point forward for a while, and he'll be a shooting guard for a while. I mean, he plays multiple roles, gets key rebounds, causes gets steals.
Yeah.
I mean, he plays all out both ends of the court, and I mean, he is, he's expecting to win it all.
And if there's
This is his time.
and despite what the analytical people say, Jimmy Butler is clutch. That's a clutch player.
Yeah.
And I love it. He's also, he makes great faces too, right?
Yeah, he does.
Like when Grant Williams was jawing at him for whatever reason. And again, I'm not sure Jimmy Butler needs extra motivation to go to the NBA Finals. But I do think he likes, because like when Grant Williams was in his face chirping, Jimmy just had that smile like, fuck you. Like,
Yeah.
And it was pretty incredible. And I
mean, he's got some Jordan in him. That's what I would say.
He does.
I'm not saying he's as good as Michael Jordan.
Of course not.
I'm saying he's got some of Michael Jordan in him.
And for all the conspiracy people, you can't really say that this is conspiracy, because if the league would probably want Celtics Lakers more than any two teams.
No question. No question. No question.
And you are not going to get, it doesn't seem like you're getting Celtics Lakers. It's hard to imagine you're not going to be Denver Miami.
And Denver Miami, I think, is a real intriguing matchup.
Yeah, and those are two great cities to go to too. Nothing, it just from a national standpoint, if you're selling it to people that are not NBA diehards, like you get Celtics, Lakers, and all that history, that would be the NBA's dream, and they're not. It doesn't look like that's going to happen, which I'm pretty happy about, because if I had to pick my two favorite teams in the playoffs this year, it would be Miami and Denver.
No doubt, no doubt. And I've really enjoyed watching Miami.
And again, they're such a wild card. Like, I'll probably pick Denver to win in 5, but I don't know at this point if I would be surprised if Miami somehow ends up the champion.
I mean, it's people have either made a lot of money or lost a lot of money betting with Miami this year.
Yeah,
no doubt.
And like you said, I mean, Tyler Hero could be. I mean, they said he could be back, I think, next week.
Yeah.
And even if he's just 15, 20 minutes off the bench, it's another player, right?
Yeah. Well, speaking of unexpected, I'll talk a little bit about the PGA Championship.
Oh, you want to hit Wembanyama, the greatest prospect in NBA history?
No, let's end up with him.
Okay.
Let's close the show with him. I want to go over and talk about this PGA thing because, I'm sitting here, I have the sound off and I've got it on. And the players that everybody expected to be playing Sunday afternoon are playing Sunday morning. So Jordan Spieth and DJ and Jon Rahm, the number one player in the world. Those are all guys that are like 5 and 6 over par.
Yeah.
And I mean, they're not even remotely, they've not been in it. And you got Bruce, you got Koepka from the Live Tour at 6 under. You've got Hovland at 5 under. From Norway and Oklahoma State. He's my guy. But the story is this pro from California is playing, he's just a tour professional. He's not on the tour.
Yeah.
He works. His name's Block. And he's even after 3 rounds. And he's like been the darling of the show. Like they told him yesterday, they were interviewing him afterwards after he shot 70. He shot par 3 days in a row. And they told him the one day, you realize you beat Jon Rahm by 6 strokes. And he's just a really entertaining guy.
Yeah.
And then yesterday he said, well, today you're playing, tomorrow you're playing with Rory. You play with Rory McIlroy. And this is a guy saying, hey, I hope all the people that take lessons from me are watching and I won't be there on Monday.
It's very true.
Yeah.
Very, very true.
Very
yeah.
true. I mean, really, a real interesting guy. It was really kind of cool. It's been a really good story. But it's been intriguing, and so and the live golfers are 1 and 4, which is a really good showing for the live golfers because you haven't seen these guys.
It's true.
And Koepka and DeChambeau, 1 6 under, 1 3 under. So we'll see what happens. It's going to be really an interesting day. Yesterday you played in a downpour all day long, and today it's beautiful. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, it is exciting.
Very much so. Okay, I just wanted to divert to that. Now let's talk about Wembanyama.
Okay. Again, have you said this before?
You like Scoot Henderson for saying he should be number 1 pick?
I like that he says it, and everyone should say it, But I mean, a 7'5", 18-year-old with that skill set, like you can't not take him. And again,
No.
if you haven't seen Victor Wembanyama yet and you still listen to our show, go just pause the show and just go watch a couple YouTube clips of the guy, because he doesn't move like a 7'5" guy. He doesn't handle like a 7'5" guy or shoot. I mean, again, he is skinny. He's very skinny, but he's
18 years old.
He's 18, and you watch him play, and it's freakish. And again, he's 18. He might be 7'7" by the time it's all said and done. Right? It's conceivable. And
But I mean, he's got ball handling skills. He's got shooting skills. He's a great passer.
he seems to have a high basketball IQ.
Very high basketball IQ.
And
He's
again,
been playing professional for a couple of years, and he's only 18 years old.
yeah. And the one that they talk about all the time is where he misses a three-pointer and then somehow grabs the rebound and dunks it all in like one fantastical fluid motion.
And think about it. You got him going to a place to play for Greg Popovich,
Yeah.
who had David Robinson and Tim Duncan. Now, you really have to say, wow, that's a great fortunate landing spot for him, right?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, you couldn't go. It looked like he was ecstatic. And then he's from France, and they said Tony Parker.
Yeah. I mean, it's the perfect. I mean, if you're the NBA, it's exactly where you'd want him to be, because you figure the Tony Parker thing, the Popovich thing, the Spurs, the International, because you want this guy to be your star. You want him to live up to the hype, which they do need to be slightly careful of, because the hype is getting a little bit out of control.
Well,
Because it's hard to imagine
you count on the NBA playing either an exhibition game or a tournament or a real season game in Paris, can't you?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, and again, like I said, I think, I guess who are the greatest prospects of the live? It's Kareem or Lou Alcindor, I guess, coming out, and LeBron would probably be the only ones you could argue, I guess.
Yeah, because Michael Jordan wasn't that ballyhooed coming out.
No, I mean, it wasn't. People weren't like up in arms when he wasn't the first, when he went third. Now they are in revisionist history times, but at the moment, it wasn't like how. It was sort of like, okay, he's third.
Yeah. The Magic Larry Bird thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Kareem. Yeah, and this is, they're all in LeBron, yeah.
Because I remember LeBron very specifically. Because I mean, I know when you got the Sports Illustrated to the house, and I saw on the cover, I was like, this can't be this is not a high school person.
Yeah, he's wearing his high school uniform on the cover of Sports Illustrated.
Yeah, and he looked like, Granted, I went to high school with a guy that looked like he was 30 in high school, but yeah, it's one of those like, that guy's not in high school.
You didn't play anybody that looked like that in high school?
No. I mean, I think I played some people that looked very old, that definitely looked older and bigger, but not like, I mean, LeBron is, he doesn't look that much, I mean, except for the hairline, he doesn't look that much different than he did coming out of high school.
Yeah.
And again, I guess while we're here, just because I've been eating up this NBA playoffs and I've been watching every single post-press conference, I again have to give it up to LeBron once again, just being, a great NBA ambassador. He sits there after every game. He's very thoughtful. I don't think he gets angry about it. For a guy, again, that had all that hype coming out of high school. And again, when you look at things he's done, you either hate him because he's a good passer or because of the stupid, when he announced he was going to Miami, people didn't like the way that. But no scandals.
That's the only thing you can say about his career that is negative.
Yeah.
The way he handled that first time.
And like I said, for somebody that I remember when the Sports Illustrated, he was a 16-year-old on the cover of Sports Illustrated. And for him to still be where he's at, it's absolutely incredible. And I think I've shouted him out for that before, but these press conferences, again, because one out of every three questions is pretty stupid. And,
yeah. And that's being nice.
Yeah, that's
it's probably 2 out of every 3.
Yeah, I didn't want to be, I was like, can I say that? No, I was like, I'll just say 1 for now.
Okay.
I guess before we move on to food, let's have our Steeler hype moment, Dad.
Okay, go ahead.
Broderick Jones seems fantastic as a person. The offensive line, I don't know if you heard about our new guard, Isaiah Samuelio.
No.
I'm saying his name wrong. That's the guy they signed from the Eagles. There was a story about him this week where Jason Kelsey, who obviously is, Super Bowl champion, great offensive lineman, said he is the smartest player he's ever played with. So
Wow.
that gets me pretty hyped up that he's not on our offensive line. I mean, you had Mason Cole and Daniels, who I think played pretty well last year as free agents. You put Broderick Jones on that line. You got Washington on the, as like a sixth tackle who can also play. I mean, all I would say is to Matt Canada is there seem to be no excuses for you this year.
And our backup quarterback situation is resolved with Trubisky and Mason Rudolph. So we're the same three quarterbacks we had last year.
Yes.
Unless something happens with one of these guys they're bringing in, but I don't think so. In
No.
fact, I know you need 4 in camp to do all the reps and everything, but if I'm one of the other guys, I'm probably asking, can I get released now so I can sign with somebody else?
The only bummer is last year I thought they should have gotten rid of Rudolph and not brought him back because the guy they drafted in the 6th round is still on the Chiefs roster as a developmental, could be a good quarterback down the line sort of person. And if Andy Reid likes you,
yeah.
And again, you spent a 6th round pick on him and you basically cut him a week later, which I know happens all the time. But
yeah, I know.
I always feel like you should have your starter, a solid veteran backup, and then if you're going to keep a third quarterback, it should be a lottery ticket kind of guy. Like, we think this late round pick could develop into somebody we could turn into a 4th round pick or a 3rd round pick, or it could be a future contributor to our team. I just feel like they've sort of doubled down on 2 guys you're not going to win a Super Bowl with as their 2 backups. And that's my only negative about this. I mean, that and the Matt Canada thing, which will always be a negative.
Yep.
All right, well, I have no food, but I know you have food.
I got plenty of food. So, Mama D's, Newport Beach, one of my favorite places when I come here. I had homemade ravioli one night, and that was my favorite meal for the week. And I had cheese, and Mom had meat, and they were both phenomenal. I mean, 6 giant homemade raviolis, phenomenal. Good sauce, good filling.
Well stuffed.
Really, really good. Yeah, great stuff. So that's number 1. Then number 2, I don't know if you have a Gulfstream in your area, but it's part of the old Houston's chain. It's their high-end place. And I had beef ribs, mustard beef ribs, so like a piggy park sauce.
Yeah.
Mustard beef ribs that fell apart. I didn't need a knife. And I just used a fork and just flaked off the meat. It was very tender, very delicious. And then yesterday I had ruby red trout grilled. And if you looked at my social media feeds, both pictures are up there. And they were phenomenal, phenomenal meals.
And you said that the fish was fed shrimp, which I thought was weird or fascinating at the same time.
And actually the fish, it's a rainbow trout that's been fed shrimp or something other shellfish kind of thing to give it the color.
Yeah.
And it looks like if you flaked it off, you'd think it's a salmon, but it's not salmon. And it was just delicious. I loved it. And so I've had ruby red trout twice in the last month, once in South Carolina and once here. And I would say now I would have to describe that as my all-time favorite fish, more so than snapper or grouper. They're just so, so good. And I know when I go to New Orleans, we go to Brixton's in a couple weeks, and I'll have snapper or drum there. That's always a phenomenal meal too. So for somebody that didn't eat fish a lot in his life, I'm really enjoying fish done right. So they were really, really good.
Okay.
And then we also went to the Crystal Cove Shake Shack. Not Shake Shack like
the burger place,
Shake
yeah.
Shack. But this place is called Shake Shack, right?
Yeah.
The Crystal Cove Shake Shack. And it overlooks the Pacific. And there's actually a line of cars on the highway waiting to get in because there's only limited parking because it's on a cliff. There's limited parking, limited seating, and you just sit in your car until it's time. But the service is really quick. So when I was in line, Mom got out and put our order in, and by the time I got into the parking lot, Mom had our order, so we just brought it up. But it was really great burger, great shakes, and they probably had about 30 or 40 different shakes.
Oh, wow.
And their frozen custard shakes, they were really good.
Okay.
So, just a great week.
Well, I don't have entertainment. I do have entertainment preview for people. I'll give you one thing
entertainment preview as well
to get excited about. You know the 30 for 30 documentary series, Dad?
Yeah.
On May 30th, there's the American Gladiators one, which I'm kind of excited for.
Oh, remember we went to that?
Yeah, we went. I was like, I'm pretty pumped.
It was real. I was when we went, when you, Dan, and I went, I was surprised because you guys were all hyped about it, and I thought it was going to be just BS, but it was real.
Yeah.
I mean, they were hurting people.
So I'm excited to see Nitro and Laser in the gang, in a 30 for 30 documentary.
Yeah.
And then the week after that on June 7th, it's not for everybody, but Always Sunny in Philadelphia season 16, which I love. I'm very excited about. What else have I think that, we obviously have, I'm excited for The Crowded Room, which I don't know if we talked about in the podcast, but an Apple TV show.
And I saw the previews, and I think it looks really good.
I'm not sure what to think of this, but FX is releasing on June 14th the Full Monty TV show with the entire cast is back in their parts. I mean,
I don't know if it's something I would watch or not, but, and then previews I saw Platonic with Rose Byrne and Seth Rogen, that's coming out. I'll have to watch that. That just looked really like it's something really well done, and I like Rose Byrne. And Seth Rogen's pretty funny, so I thought that would be an interesting one to watch.
Yeah.
I finished the first season of The Night Agent, loved it, and there's going to be a season 2, so I'm excited about that. You mentioned that our Justified is coming back next month.
Yeah. I think that is July. I'm confirming it's July. Because July is another big month with the After Party season 2, What We Do in the Shadows season 5, and then Justified, City Primeval, July 18th.
All right.
Yeah. So, and then the wild card in all of this is on July 27th, Anthony Mackie stars in Sony PlayStation's Twisted Metal, which I have no idea what that's going to be like.
Okay.
But I'm kind of excited to watch it.
And tomorrow night, I am going to the world-famous Hollywood Bowl to see Matchbox 20 and the Wallflowers.
Okay.
And I'm real excited about that. I've always really, really liked the Wallflowers.
Jacob Dylan, Bob Dylan's son.
Yep. Way better voice than Bob.
Well, early Bob is always...
to go see this, and yeah. I've heard just amazing things about going to concert Hollywood Bowl, so that's tomorrow night. Postponed from we bought the tickets in 2021.
Wow. Only 2 years later.
So I'm excited to see this one.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy, yeah.
And I have my phone, I'll be hopefully monitoring the Heat game too.
Yeah, that's exciting. Yeah. So I guess...
The Heat game's tonight. Never mind, Heat game's tonight.
Yeah.
Tomorrow night's the Laker game, also in LA where I am.
So there's a possibility that when we talk to you guys next week, we'll have been talking about 2 sweeps.
Yeah, we'll be talking about a much earlier start of the NBA Finals, possibly.
Yeah. And again, I really hope Denver just wipes them off and just gets the full sweep, not the gentleman's sweep, which I think that's their mindset. Denver does not seem like they are looking to give away any games. And I like that in them. And I do feel like...
They look relentless.
I do feel like the Lakers feel pretty defeated right now. And I don't blame them. I don't know if this is a game...
You went for the play-in game. I mean, you fought.
Yeah.
You fought from a real bad start to come back all the way through, and maybe just out of gas.
Yeah. And again, you bring back everybody's favorite Austin Reeves next year. You already got Rui under contract, Anthony Davis, LeBron, maybe add a piece or two here between, Darvin Ham, and you got something.
Hoping that they can all stay healthy and you can give LeBron some more rest during the year.
Yeah.
Give him one last shot.
Yeah. And I would say avoid Kyrie.
I would say that too, and avoid James Harden.
Yeah. Well, that was my other point. I'll sell this real quick. I'm still confused by all the Daryl Morey love. I've been confused since day one. He basically made his entire reputation by winning the Oklahoma City trade, which was just a bad trade was probably the worst trade Oklahoma City's ever made. And then you look at the players they could have had instead of James Harden. De'Aaron Fox was on that list. Sabonis was on that list. Halliburton was on that list. And they could have had all those guys by getting it just straight up for Ben Simmons, giving up no draft picks and keeping Seth Curry. So I don't know what they were thinking and why he's getting praised that he did the best thing by waiting for James Harden. Because I just, I don't get it. That's the end of my rant.
I don't get it either.
I was like, because I would have wanted to had all those guys plus my picks plus Seth Curry because that makes a lot more sense to me. But whatever.
Hey, it is what it is, right?
It is what it is. All right, so until next week, I guess we're out.
Take care.